Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to be continuing on with ridiculously long song titles this week with another ridiculously long song title, though we still haven't hit any of the exceptionally long ones. This was the song that got second place for the poll. We have Maudlin of the Well, excerpt from 6 Trillion Miles Before the First, or the Revisitation of the Blue Ghost. And thoughts, as sadly there aren't many long titled Doom songs. So we're actually getting a little taste of next week's Doom theme, which we are getting into next week. So we're getting a little Doom today, I guess. I suppose there's a chance that we're not getting Doom today, and I don't know. Kind of makes me think this is a Doom band, or at least a Doom song. So let's get into it. Maudlin of the Well, an excerpt from 6 Trillion Miles. Not really feeling that Doom yet. Just real chill. Very whimsical. Really good use of strings. Ooh. Alright, so we went from sort of whimsical, adventurous almost, to like ultimate relaxation. That voice is not making me very relaxed. How did we go from relaxing to creepy so fast? I really like their melodic work. Until it comes to the vocals. There's There's just something so unsettling about this vocal performance. The warble on those chords don't help at all. And it's interesting because that warble is what gave me the like relaxing vibe to start with. And it's just been completely recontextualized. Okay. We got syncopated stings. We got a bell. Got a couple of strings. And it started out fairly harmonious. We're getting into a bit of cacophony here, though. Very subtle tempo changes. Not so subtle tempo change. Interesting. We introduced that little triplet feel for 4 bars, 8 bars, and then called it quits to introduce this section. It's obviously 4/4, but every fiber of my being wants to count this in a 3 pulse, and it doesn't fit. And I don't know how they're hijacking my brain. I don't like it. Ooh, those palm muted harmonics. It's just serene. So much of this song has just been beautiful. A little bit of dissonance here, but it's working. I like that piano line. Maybe it's bells. Just alternating back and forth between two notes, giving everything a very interesting anchor. Alright, new repetition, we get a new line coming in. Way low in the mix, but it's there. Is that... Are we done? I can never tell. This we had a really good fade out at one point, and then it came back in with that really quiet piano. But I think we're done. We got 4 seconds left, so. All right. So that was interesting. I love everything about what we just checked out. I don't understand the vocals. They serve a very interesting position in the very sparse use of that they had. It just did not mesh well with everything else. A lot of this song is, to me, fairly calm, pensive, layered work, slow burn, kind of proggy, and I guess the vocal work sort of had like a pensiveness to it, but to me it was more exasperated, unsettling. There definitely was not a lot of oomph or power behind it, which fits in with sort of the just kind of chill environment that the music was playing, but it also was just like everything is beautiful and harmonious and perfectly pitched, and then the vocals come in and they're just slightly off key, and I don't know if that was done with the actual vocal cords. Maybe they were, purposefully detuning themselves, or some sort of undertone or overtone from some of the effects they were getting. I'm not really sure where that came through. It was obviously intentional somewhere down the line to leave it in there. Obviously, I just don't know if that was a conscious decision during the writing and recording process, or maybe that popped up while they were editing and mastering and sort of adding these effects, and they liked it and kept it, but it's just it does not fit. So much of the song is gorgeous, and those vocals are just unsettling. Like I said, they completely recontextualized my idea of that section. We had that nice reverb going on, giving the guitar strums like a warble, and I thought it was very refreshing, almost like chilling at a beach. And you had some very nice, I think they were violin lines, string lines of some sort, um, doing some overarching melody work, and then these vocals come in and they're super quiet and they're just slightly off key, and there's a lot of airiness in them, and it is just not the beauty. It's such a contrast, and it's an interesting decision to add in there, um, especially when I don't feel that idea is reflected anywhere else in the music. We did hit a couple of instances where I felt that dissonance was a key part of the composition. I mentioned that in one of the slow burn sections. I think it was the last slow burn section we did. And there was some dissonance going on. And I was like, we're putting a little textural work with the dissonance in there, and it's working. It's working. But otherwise, the whole song is just harmony. Everything just fits beautifully. It creates this serene pensiveness, and the vocals they were counterproductive to that. Every single word was counterproductive. Now I don't know what the lyrics were. I tried to key into them a couple of times, but it wasn't clicking. I don't know if maybe it was an enunciation issue, or could have been just several layers, and I'm just trying to tune into everything. And as usual, I've mentioned this before, vocals, uh, when on a first listen, I will listen to the vocal work, not the lyrical work. So while I heard the vocals and I heard the vocalist and how it fit in with everything, I'm not necessarily tuned in to the words themselves, more of the sounds and pitches and timbres and textures and how they're producing the sound, more so than what they are saying. So that's, as usual, that's on me. It's just something I'm not as good at picking up on a first time listen as I am with other more musical aspects rather than sort of a poetic, a lingual aspect. So maybe the lyrics are sort of melancholy or unsettling, or they're talking about, a contrast between two ideals, and maybe it fits thematically in with the lyrics. But just looking at the music as it would be on paper, it just does not. It's such a stark contrast. There is really not any other instance, any other instrument that carries the sort of texture that the vocals bring to the table. They are really singular in that idea and that goal. And like I said, if they popped up all the time, I'd say, okay, that's a running theme, a running contrast through this song from start to finish. Is we have this sort of dissonance, this unsettlingness in the vocals, but aside from that beginning part, that first slow section, everything else is instrumental. So they're not a key part of the song as far as showing up in a vast percentage of it. It really is an outlier in every sense of the word. It is a small portion of the song that they are represented in, and it is a huge contrast from what everything else is doing. So I am interested in maybe how the lyrics work into that, but I think I would enjoy the song just as much as far as I enjoyed it on my first listen without it. Like I said, knowing the lyrics and maybe how that works in context would have me completely reevaluate my ideas and thoughts. But from what I've listened here, I would have enjoyed it more without the vocals. Um, so now that we're done talking about the vocals, I feel like I rambled on that for a bit. Let's get into some of the compositional ideas going on in the instrumental. And I love so much of what's going on here. I think I started off saying that. I can't say that enough. This song is a joy to listen to, almost from start to finish. Um, yeah, the string work is phenomenal. The way that they interweave the textures with, strings have a very regal, strong presence, and they interweave that with some classical, acoustic guitar work. They interweave it with some bells, specifically what would seem like a metal bell, something along the xylophone line, um, and so you have this regal, this strength and power. Especially there's, I would say, the strings are more represented than any other instrument group. And I this is weird because guitars are string based too, but I kind of put them off in their own area because they're electric instruments rather than acoustic instruments. So I would say acoustic strings are represented more than any other family in this song. And to me, they are sort of the defining element of the song. They really control a lot of the emotional context and atmosphere that goes on throughout the song. Occasionally, we have these small ideas like the high reverb acoustic guitar where the vocals are, and then a piano brings us into one of the last slow burn sections. But aside from the section where the vocals are, most of the time, while we don't start with the acoustic strings, we do bring them in eventually, and they do overpower everything else that's happening. Except for the one time that we do get an overdriven guitar, and it has some punch. It definitely steals the spotlight, but it's used very sparingly for chord stings, and then they were syncopated chord stings at that. So while it did steal the mix and just kind of like come out of nowhere and make sure you heard it, it wasn't hyper predominant because it was used sparingly. Going back to the acoustic strings, though, they really present a lot of the, like I said, regal and elegance and sort of pensiveness that you get throughout the song. A lot of that comes from the string work. And if you really, this is another song, just like yesterday, that I would need many listens to, because I was about to say, if you listen to all of the layers, you're going to hear some really cool stuff. And I stopped myself short from saying that because, yes, it is probably true, but there's also a lot I missed because of how many layers there were. So I can't really say that with certainty that you will find a lot of depth if you listen for it, but I'm like 70% sure that this song is just, it is a dense song. I don't see a situation where you could listen to it many times from many different angles and not walk away with a more enriched view of the track. So, yeah, but like I said, a lot of the work comes from the vocals, the strings. They're providing a lot of the heavy lifting as far as the emotion and atmosphere are concerned. However, I really enjoy the way that that texture, that specific tone of the violin, the viola, that kind of sound is mixed with the harshness of the metal bells, and it's kind of mixed with the, I don't really want to say softness of the acoustic guitar, but kind of in this context, it is like it's still a plucked string, so you're going to get that sharp attack, um, but it has this smoothness to it. I think it's just because of the contrast. Everything else has these is a much more rugged sound to it. So they kind of provide a smoothness, a softness to contrast the acoustic strings, and the acoustic guitar is acoustic string. This is just, I got to find a better way to differentiate this. um yeah, it was a violin. We're just going to call it a violin. I don't know if it was specifically a violin, but that's what we're going to call it. Um, yeah, it's just a nice stark contrast to the violin and the piano and the bells. So I don't know. Everything just kind of worked, came together. I think that's the thing. I could probably delve into this, and like I said, it would take me a few listens to really get into the meat and potatoes of this, the nitty gritty, really dive in and see how all these instruments are playing off of each other. But at the end of the day, I'd almost wager that this is a song that's going to be more than the sum of its parts. Um, because everything does come together, except for the vocals, to provide this beautiful, serene, pensive getaway. You just kind of dive into this music, let it overwhelm you, and just chill, relax in it, calm down. And I think it does a phenomenal job at that, of just transporting you away from whatever your worries or troubles are, and just kind of, enveloping you in this nice sereneness. And I'm gonna hate it if someone comes back and they're like, yeah, the lyrics are like hyper, uh, you know, destructive, and they're just talking about all this bad stuff. And I'm like, maybe this isn't the song to calm down and chill to. But yeah, from a first time listen, just getting with the groove, the atmosphere, the music, to me, I see it as something that you can just really fall into when you've had a rough day and chill from. Um, And a lot of that comes down to, like I said, being more than a sum of its parts. Um, One thing I really want to point out that supports this is that the piece of dissonance at the end. Um, Dissonance is usually a bad thing. That's not going to be something that gets you calm or relaxed. Dissonance is usually stressful or tense. That's the purpose of dissonance, is to provide tension for either the atmosphere of the piece, or when you're doing chord progressions, you want that tension to help guide back to the harmony of usually going back home, going back to your one chord. So, it's dissonance is used for tension, but here I don't really feel it. It was definitely present. the section was tense. Whatever, I think it was violin coming in, and it was not 100% working with the rest of the music that was already present, but it just fit. I'm not really sure how. I'd have to go back and really hone in on that. But yeah, that's one of the problems with these slow burns is that they give you time to listen to everything. You usually get, 2 or 4 repetitions before the next layer comes in. So you get a while to kind of check out each layer, but at the same time, it's still moving real quick and you're getting a lot of layers added onto each other. And the second, the third, the fourth layer, you can kind of see where they're coming from and how they fit in. But by the time you get to like 7 and 8 layers, you're not only figuring out how they fit in to the overall tone, but how they play in with all the other individual instruments, and it's just not enough time to really dive into it like that. But the few synergies that I could really hone in and listen to, the ones that not necessarily popped up, but that I focused on, I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of neat. Because sometimes you focus on 2 instruments or 3 instruments, and you're like, not really doing anything together. They're just kind of there. But sometimes you really hone in on these 2 or 3 instruments, and you're like, yeah, this is working. There's really good synergy in this composition. And a lot of that comes down to, in this track, was the ways that the rhythmic elements were working together. And the one part I pointed out at the end was a piano part that was going back and forth between 2 notes and occasionally playing a note twice to add some syncopation. Basically, if the first note is on the downbeat, you get like do 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 do. Well, maybe you play that second note twice, so your lower note is now on the offbeat. So you get do 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 do, and it reverses it. And you can do this all the time. Every 2.5 beats, play a double and flip the script. And it's a really nice way to add syncopation without really adding too much complexity in the performance work. Depending on what the performer's comfortable with, yeah, I guess it could add some complexity into the performance if the performer just doesn't get the rhythm. Yeah, I guess that could be a problem. But any good performer is going to learn it. It's just if things come naturally to them, they'll pick it up faster. Um, but yeah, so that's like a really simple thing, just kind of sitting on the bottom, and then you get other pieces coming in with a bit more syncopation to them, where instead of syncopating, they might syncopate with the piano, but they'll have rests rather than just constantly playing eighth notes. And it's those little pieces of rests and how it creates gaps in one rhythm opens up for you to hear the rhythms in other sections. And I think that's what these guys just do phenomenally. That was one little like thread that I picked up through a lot of these hyper layered sections, these extremely dense sections, was their use of space to make sure that everything just kind of had a place. Nobody was really having their toes stepped on too much. I think there was one section that I felt was a little convoluted. I said it was getting a little chaotic. I think that was earlier on in the track, maybe in the middle. They were intentionally going what I think for more of a chaotic feel. But for the most part, a lot of it is very well composed where nobody's really stepping on anybody's toes. Everything's mixed well. Space is utilized properly. So yeah, I have we checked out Maudlin a couple of times while we were listening. I was like, this name sounds familiar. Is that just because they've been requested a lot, or have we checked them out before? And I can't remember. But if we have, I want to go back and listen to what we checked out last time, because I really enjoyed this. This is not Doom. Oh man, I just remembered that Thoughts said that it was hard to find a Doom song with a long title, and it made me think that this was a Doom song with a long title. One of the few that he could find, and yeah, that was not doomy at all. That was real chill and relaxed, pensive. I keep coming back to that, and I think pensive is a really good word. It's not 100% relaxing, but it is peaceful enough to provoke thought, peaceful enough to think in, and pensive is just kind of the word that comes to mind for that. Alright, so that was Maudlin of the Well, an excerpt from 6 Trillion Miles Before the First, or the Revisitation of the Blue Ghost. This is where you guys come in, I let you know my thoughts, you hit me up with your thoughts, hit me up in the comments, let me know what you enjoyed about this, if you enjoyed anything about it, if you didn't enjoy anything about it, if you want to trash my entire idea about this being pensive and clue me into how doomy the lyrics are. I don't know. Just whatever's on your mind, put it down in the comments. You can also hit the description box if you want some links adjacent to the channel, such as for the Patreon or blocked videos. All of that's in the description box. And there are 3 buttons right around that same area for a like, subscribe, and a bell to ring. They help out the channel immensely. And if you like what I do here and you want to get notified about when I drop new ones, that's the best way to go about doing it. Just click all 3 of those and you're solid. Speaking of the next time that I put videos out, it's always at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, which means tomorrow I'll have a video at that time. This will be the first random selection. I believe it's the random selection from the high end of the poll. Yeah, based on that name, I don't remember. Anyways, the way the polls work is that I always take the top 2 voted, and then I take a random one from the top 50% of votes, a random one for the lower 50% of votes, and then I get to pick one, which is always on Friday. We get to see what I'm personally interested in, whether it's a band that I know or maybe just a title or a band name that catches my eye. This week I do know the band, and I'm excited to check them out because it's, I'm not going to spoil anything. Right? I'm excited about it. We've had them on the channel a couple of times, and I can't wait to have them back on. Alright, that wraps this one up. I feel like this video has gone on very long. 33 minutes. Holy jeez. I mean, that's about right, though. An 11-minute song, 30-minute video, 3 times the length of this. That's about right? We do a 5-minute video. I mean, a 5-minute song, you get about a 15-minute video out of it, so yeah, I suppose that adds up. Anyways, like I said, I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the next one for ridiculously long song titles. Until then, you guys stay safe out there, keep being awesome, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.